this time, we're joined by Sporting Kansas City's President of Soccer Operations and General Manager, David Lee. First question will go to Daniel Sperry with Kansas City Star.
Just wanted to give you the opportunity to start with André Luiz and the signing that was announced this morning. If you could just kind of talk a little bit about that process. This is obviously is a very high-profile signing and an acquisition that the club has, and at the level that the club really hasn't made before. So, what was it like going through that process? And I guess ultimately, why'd you land on him?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So we're really excited that André Luiz decided to join. We went into the window. We knew we wanted to add a DP attacker, and so we went through a long list of players. But André Luiz is always one of our key targets. We've known about him from when he was in Portugal. He had a fantastic sort of half season at Rio Ave and was one of the best players in the league. Obviously went to Olympiacos, and so we've been speaking to them for quite a while now. Delighted that it's finally done. I think he's an absolute elite athlete. I think he'll really help us in transition game and being a threat in behind with his athleticism. He's got goals and assists. He can take players on 1v1. So I'm really excited for him to get here. I think the process going through that with him personally also was really good. I think he was committed to wanting to be in Sporting Kansas City, which I think is something that we've tried to really make sure that all of the players that we're signing want that. And he made this his choice over many other options that he could have had in Europe. And so I think that's testament to the person that we're bringing in. 24 years old, we still think there's improvement to come. He's got good background in Brazil, but also multiple years now in Europe and getting the education that they get there. So we're really excited for him to get here and start integrating with the team, and looking forward to fans and everybody getting to know him and seeing him play.
I guess the fee, I don't know if you can comment exactly on what the fee was, but for it to be that high, obviously there's a statement there, but there's also a bit of belief that not only you believe that he can come in and deliver, but also that, I guess the next thing for me is, do you believe that right now that this club is kind of in the space where you believe that he can come in and be a successful signing? Is with management, all that kind of stuff. Kind of, you feel that investment is an investment that right now the club is prepared to handle that and capitalize on a player like that.
Yeah, I think the fee, as we've announced, is a club record fee. Transfer fees are a little wild. You have to pay what the club demands, and if you want the player, then you have to try and work that to get to a number that ultimately we felt was justified based on the quality of the player and the potential we believe he has and the impact we think he can have. So yeah, absolutely, we think we're set up for him to be successful. There's a lot of work to do, and we want to bring in some more players that also can help him, absolutely. But we think he's a player that has huge potential to have a big impact in MLS, and I'm really excited to see him on the field.
And then just with what happened with Manu and the announcement last night, from your perspective, how did that situation play out? And ultimately, why? I know fans will ask the question of why part with a guy that was this team's DP10 just 12, maybe 16, 18 months ago. So ultimately, how'd that all come about?
Yeah, so I think as we entered into this transfer window, so it's the first transfer window under new ownership with majority ownership with Peter Maluk, and we sat down as we entered into the window and wanted to discuss absolutely everything about how we make the team as competitive, sustainably competitive as we possibly can, with nothing off the table. And so, I should maybe have started with, I do want to thank Manu. Like he's been a wonderful professional throughout this process. I think he's given a huge amount in his 18 months to Sporting Kansas City. But as we looked at the window, both this one, January, the following summer, and the opportunity that we would have to have an open DP slot and to potentially invest that into a different player, Peter was open to that conversation, and so there needed to be a discussion with Manu to see if there was a mutual situation that could benefit everybody. And so we've worked with Manu. You'll see, I don't think it's announced, but he's going to go to another club, and so we found a situation that worked, and again, commitment from ownership to exercise a buyout that allows us to open another DP slot. So we still have a DP slot, and ultimately DP slots are the most valuable roster building mechanism you can have, and having them open means that we can go and impact our team both this window and in the future. And ultimately that was the main driver behind this as we headed into this window under Peter's ownership.
With you said like the DP slot's the most valuable, but the international slots are also pretty valuable. How's that shaping up right now for the team?
Yeah, so we have an open international slot. Manu is a domestic player, so that doesn't open up an international slot. So as we look to potentially add more international players, then I have some work to do to try and make sure we remain compliant, but I'm not overly concerned by that at this moment. I think we're still in the mode of making sure that the players that we want to get across the line in the next couple of weeks to help improve the team get done. I would imagine there'll probably be a mix of both domestic and ideally international players. But probably something you're going to hear me say regularly. We've got to get the right players in. Like, we are in a position where we must improve the team, and we have to make the right long-term decisions. What we cannot be in a position is signing particularly a DP, but any player that we don't see as a big part of our future, where we're going to need to solve another problem in 6 or 12 or 18 months' time. Because I want to be really, really clear. Nobody is satisfied with where we are right now. Nobody. And the goal and the directive from everybody that is I'm responsible for and I'm accountable for is to get this team competitive as quickly as we possibly can. And that is what we're working on every single day, and we will do that the remainder of this window, we will do that in the next window, we will do that in the following window, and we will continue to do that until we get this team where it and our fans deserve it to be.
And as you just said, there's a couple weeks left in the window, and you're expecting to still potentially add more. Is that another DP slot, or is that U22s, or maybe even outside of that?
Yeah, so I'd say nothing's off the table. So we haven't committed to, we've left ourselves the flexibility in how we built the roster, and we haven't used some of our DGAM, so we can move to the 3DP model if that's what we decide. So we are actively in the market looking at that, and if we can find the right player, then we would do that. I think I mentioned nothing's off the table here. Like, we want to improve this team, and we are not happy with the current results that we're having and performances, and so therefore we need to find ways to improve our team. And we've got an open DP slot, we've got open U22 slots, and we will do everything we can to bring the right players in to fill those slots. But my job is to look at absolutely everything, and so incomings, outgoings, whatever might transpire in the next 2 weeks. Always the last 2 weeks of the window are the craziest because things really start to move in Europe, and that has a trickle-down effect on every other team in the world. And so I imagine there's going to be movement. I've got to try and stay patient and disciplined to make sure the moves that we make are the right ones that help us short-term and medium-long-term.
Yeah, it's got to be tough to balance that, wanting to get things done, but making sure you're only making the right moves. But going into that, there was a report that you have acquired a head of analytics, but that may not have taken place yet. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, so saw the reports. We don't have anything to announce there yet. We have made a number of hires in our technical staff over the last 2 or 3 months. All of those people are serving notice in their current employers, and so when they actually get here, we will be able to talk about them publicly, not when the media talk about them. But yeah, I'm really excited. We've made some, to be honest, some really, really impactful and what we perceive as really impressive hires to lead some of our departments at the club, scouting, analytics, performance in a number of areas. I think I mentioned in my last presser that trying to balance the short term, improving the team, but also the medium long term, and making sure we have a staff and a system set up behind the scenes to be able to consistently make the correct decisions. And again, commitment from ownership to go and invest in staff has been unbelievable, and I'm really excited for those people to get here and start helping.
I kind of wanted to ask a little bit more specifically about André Luiz and your excitement for him. What specifically about his game jumped off the page to you and made him one of those top candidates for you guys?
Yeah, so I mentioned it. I ultimately, like, the first thing that I think everybody will see is his athleticism. Like, he's 6'2", which is very unusual for a winger to be that size. He has electric pace. He runs in behind consistently, and I think what we saw in Portugal was he really was able to add productivity and end product in 7 goals, 6 assists. I think in the first half of the season, 2 penalties. One, he made sure to tell me that as well. They didn't count as assists. And so I think we see a player that ultimately can make an impact around the goal. Now, we have a lot of work to do to make sure that we can get the most out of him, but I think he's a player that will impact our game with his physicality, with his ability to run in behind, with his quality on the ball, and his 1v1 ability. And so I think they're the things that ultimately, and really when you acquire DPs, it's particularly in the attacking end of the pitch, you really want them to have an impact around the goal, and we believe he'll have the capability to do that. Ultimately, with any new signing, we've got to help him acclimate, settle, help his family move, all those things that are really critical for a player to start to succeed on the pitch, and we'll make sure we do that. But I know he's raring to go and can't wait to get here.
And then you've talked kind of about the balance of results now and focusing on getting the right players in now, but then also making sure that everyone's a part of that long-term plan. How do you find weighing that balance?
Yeah, it's not easy. Ultimately, we, as I said, nobody's happy with where we are on the table. Nobody's happy with the results that we've seen. I would say, especially coming out of the break, where we felt like we had, it was a short period, but we felt like we turned a little bit of a corner going into the World Cup break. If you look at the underlying data in that period right before the World Cup break, we were way, way, way better than our performance in the table, and we haven't seen that since the break. So that is an area of concern for us, and so we've got to try and make decisions that help the team right now. And I think ultimately, when you have some of your premium roster slots available, whether that's with GAM or TAM or DPs, U22s, we want to try and use those to impact the team. But again, the only part that I think is the most dangerous when you're in a moment like we are is that you sign the wrong players for 3 or 4 years, and you tie up your DP slots in players that maybe aren't going to be the right ones in the future, and that's a really hard problem to get out of. And so we have to try and be as disciplined. I have to try and be as disciplined as we can to get the players in that we believe in, and the support that we've had from ownership to have the conversations like we've seen with André Luiz and other players that we are talking to has been really amazing, and it's put us into the market where we're really trying to compete with players that have a number of opportunities in Europe, and that's been a really fun process to go through, and hopefully we'll have some more positive news of incomings very soon.
When it gets to kind of this phase of the transfer window in the last few weeks, is it more of strictly negotiations, or is it kind of still evaluating any players that you might acquire? How does that work in this phase?
It's a good question. So I would say we are, if you look at probably a percentage, we're probably 85% in negotiation or conversation phase rather than talent ID. They're very, very rare that we've known the positions that we would like throughout for a very long time. So we've done a huge amount of work on the talent ID portion. I think what you find in these last 2 weeks, particularly with the fee that we've paid for André Luiz and the potential to pay a fee similar to that or more for other players, all of those players have opportunities in Europe. And so sometimes you're waiting for dominoes to fall, and they might be waiting for an opportunity at a Champions League club, and maybe that doesn't materialize, and then all of a sudden we might be option number 2 or 3 for them, which is perfectly okay when you consider the other teams that they're looking at. And so you have to be ready to react to availability in the market, and that's sort of what we're doing now. But there will always be an element of some player situations will change for the positive or the negative. There are some players that we were looking at that we thought were going to be out of the team. All of a sudden, they started the season in Europe, they've scored a couple goals, and so suddenly they're not available anymore. And so we've just got to stay active in all of those conversations to try and keep everything alive. But yeah, much more in the monitoring phase rather than sort of talent ID.
And I know part of the appeal of the players that have been brought in recently is bringing the club up kind of from where they are in the standings. Just, do you think that if it was higher up that maybe there would be a different caliber of players, or would it be a similar caliber of players no matter where you are in the standings? Yeah,
I think it would be a similar caliber of players. I think that every player that I've spoken to, certainly the vast majority, I think when we're able, and I would say this for the staff, that was a question as well, like when you explain the opportunity here in Kansas City and what we are building and what we are going towards, I think everybody gets really excited about that. And of course, there are questions about how we're improving the team. The players also want to know what the players they're going to be playing with and what we're doing to try and improve. But I don't think that has hurt us in the market so far. I can't say that it won't ever, but right now I don't think that has been a reason why the talent pool is different than we would expect. And so I think we would be shopping in likely similar markets. The reality is that there are not that many MLS teams that are paying transfer fees similar to the amount that we have said that we have done and that we've said that we will do. And so I think that puts us in the market for some of the hopefully the most impactful players that we can find to come in, particularly in those DP areas.
Obviously, a number 10 like Manu leaving opens up a spot in that kind of a position. I don't think there's a very comparable player on the roster to that exact kind of role. What do you see as the player the player type that you want to fill that role with? And ultimately, does that, I guess maybe, do those qualities usually end up using a DP spot there? Or do you see U22 players being able to kind of fill that spot if you so acquire in that spot?
Yeah, so I think the profile of a number 10, I would actually describe Manu not as a number 10, to be honest. I would say he's more of a number 8. I think he's not a box-to-box type number 8, but he does it with possession. I think when we've played him as a number 10, you would always see he came quite deep to receive the ball. And so I think as we look for a number 10, we will be in the market for number 10, hopefully in this window, if we can find the right one and we can finalise the right one. We want someone that's impactful around the goal. Like, they have to be able to create a number of chances. They have to score goals. They have to have that impact in and around the team. I think if you look at the best teams in MLS, they have number 10s that are incredibly impactful in and around the goal, and so somebody that is I think a little bit more dangerous, can be a little bit more of a support to our number 9. I think is the profile. I would say we were also looking for somebody that can help us defensively. So I think this is an area where some of the areas where we want to improve is if we have if we're able to find a number 10 that can press and can work really, really hard without the ball. I think that will enable us to defend higher up the pitch, and that will also help our overall game. So I think you can find those with U22s and DPs. We're going to be looking at both. We know we would like to add one, but I do think we also have a blend of qualities in our midfield that, there's not an out-and-out number 10 in our first team roster. Obviously, we have Zamir in the second team, but I think we have a blend of midfield profiles that will allow Rafa to select a group of players that can be very effective until we finalise the number 10 that we really want.
And then is that kind of the primary positional goal, I guess, for the remainder of this window, is to fill that spot, or are there other areas that you're looking at filling as well within the roster?
Yeah, that I would say it is definitely a focus, but we are looking at other positions as well. We would like probably another attacker as well, maybe a versatile one that can play both wide or inside. And then we also have to be ready to adapt. Like, we've got interest in a whole bunch of our players, and while we don't anticipate right now that will happen, but we don't know. And so my job is to be ready and to try and be prepared to react in case something like that happens. And so right now when you look at the roster, we know we'd like to add another attacking midfielder for sure, but we've got to be prepared for anything that might materialize in these last couple of weeks.
Jake, you guys have a pretty big rivalry game tomorrow night. The way things ended in St. Louis last time, probably a bit of a sour taste. So what's the talk been like coming into this match, and kind of hoping to kind of get one back on a big derby opponent?
Yeah, I think, look, it's been tough, but we're positive. We're optimistic. I think our game against St. Louis at their place, we lost, but we put out a very strong second-half performance that fought us back to the game. And that's something that I think actually gave us a bump of progress and belief in our ability as a team. And a little unfortunate with the refereeing there, and it's not an excuse. Pro came out and said that they made a mistake, but even though we were losing 3-2 in that game, I think all of us at one point in the second half believed that we could steal points, and maybe 3 points, especially being down 2-0 at their place. I mean, we see they're a good team this year, so I think it's a great opportunity at home to show our fans exactly what we're trying to do here, and all the determination we have to be the team that's winning, to bring Kansas City back to where it should be. And I think, I've been here a good chunk of time now, and just as any game against St. Louis, it's also a rivalry. So I think our mentality is we have a plan, but we have to do what it takes to win in terms of effort, quality, and focus.
What's the message been like this coming off that game in Colorado? I know the red cards kind of derail the true hope of, the original game plan and all that. But like you said, you adapt and adjust and do what you try and do what you can to get a result. How do you guys feel coming out of that game, and what's been kind of the talking point?
I mean, listen, I'll call a spade a spade. Colorado's a good team. First half wasn't good from us, but, being down a man for 50 minutes almost in Colorado, we conceded 1 goal in 40 minutes. And I'm not saying, oh, look, we conceded 1 goal. I'm saying that we defended with our hearts, and we left everything out there to try to preserve and give ourselves a chance to get a result. And we had chances. We could have easily stole points there. And I think, again, you have to bear with us and bear with me. And I I truly believe this, and I've been here for so long, but we're moving in the right direction. We could have got points there. Second half with 10 men is not an easy thing to do to stay in a game against a good team like Colorado. Then we go down to 9 men, and then they nick a goal at the end in the 94th minute. Okay, but for 45 minutes in the second half, we were preserving a chance to win or tie the game. And I strongly believe that we could have done that. And if we had done that, we'd be sitting here talking differently, saying that we have momentum going into this game. So I still think that there's a lot of momentum and positive things going into this, and now it's just a time to roll up our sleeves and show the fans.
These rivalry games always seem to, no matter what the one team is doing or the other team is doing, that kind of all goes out the window before it. For you guys, how do you approach a game that maybe has a little bit more energy from the fans and from your team?
Yeah, I mean, energy from our fans.
Yeah.
I think, listen, all the Derby games against St. Louis here have always, our fans always bring it. And I think that's what's special about Kansas City. You saw it during the World Cup that there's passion here. And I think especially for a Wednesday Derby game too, people have work and family, but they still decide to come out and support. And I think that just shows me as a player, for someone that's been here so long, that, we want to show them that it's worth to come to our games. It's worth to support us in these moments, and especially these tough moments. And I think hearing the fans at our games, especially for me, and I think for most of the guys that are learning our team now, that when you hear fans cheer and shout and it's the little things, like when there's a good pass that breaks pressure, it's contagious, and it gives you actually a different gear in your brain, a different level of confidence. And I think that can make a big difference for tomorrow, and I think it's helped us at home this year. We haven't had necessarily the best home record, but our performances have been getting better, I think, at home. So I think, like you said, I think the fans make a humongous difference. And speaking for myself, I'm always trying to fight for them, and I know that they show up, and I try to show up.
And what are some of those things you talked about you feel like you guys are progressing in the right direction? For people that don't see it, what are some of those things that you would talk about?
I just think that in terms of, look, it's not an easy thing to do to sign new guys and fully expect everyone to click like we've known each other for 3 years. There's plenty of teams in MLS that have had teams that have been together for many, many years. And I think with time, good things take time. And I think that's such a cliche thing to say, but this is the first time I've been part of an experience like this, seeing new guys come in, new decision makers. And I think that we've done a really good job with the players we've added and the staff we've added. And I think in terms of progress, just quality, we've signed really good players, and I think overall that's going to help us, give us chances to get points in games. And listen, I think we've also signed gritty, and that's what Kansas City is. Kansas City, we're a Midwest team. We're gritty. We fight, scrap, but we've also always had quality. And I think in terms of progress, that's where our team's heading right now. We've added quality, and also we've added some fight. And I think that I'm excited for that because I was a fan here too when I was 15, and I think we're heading in the right direction. You just have to stick with us, and you have to fight with us, and I know good things will come.
Speaking of new players, new player announced today. Just what first impressions of Andre, and just what do you know about him so far?
Not much. I'll be honest, I know that he's got a lot of quality. Playing at a high level like Olympiacos, obviously looking at his career path, I think that like I just said, he's going to bring a lot of quality. South American guy, wants to fight, wants to work, wants to score. I think that's always someone you want to add to your team. And look, I hope he hits the ground running, and I want to do the best I can to make it easy for him to adapt and show us his quality.
And then going into this one without Manu, just with that kind of sudden departure, just what's that been like, moving on without him, and kind of saying goodbye to him?
Yeah, it's hard. He's a good guy. Sorry. Listen, I've been here for a while. I've seen a lot of good people come and go. he's a great player, but he's an even better person, and I wish him all the best. And I don't know if we saw the best of him here, but I'm glad he was here, and he sure as hell made our team better. So.
What are you thinking about that's kind of making you get choked up there with your relationship with him?
He's just a good guy, man. He's just a good guy. I got close with him this year, and I think when you've got quality on a team, but you're also a genuine human, I think that when those go hand in hand, you can always make a team better. And I think on his day, one of the best players on our team, and he can change a game like that. And I'm glad he was here and he was part of our history here.
Coach, a big announcement, obviously, this morning with acquisition of André Luiz. What's been your talks with David about what he's going to bring, and ultimately what excites you about him?
So we were looking from the beginning for a winger with that type of profile, left-footed winger, lots of pace, lots of 1v1. So I think we're very excited about the signing. We believe that he will make this team much better and will help the team, and that his profile also fits really well to the MLS. That's what we believe, and I'm excited that this player is now signed, and now it's about being a little bit patient to integrate them when they're here.
And then the announcement last night of the departure of Manu Garcia. Just what can you say about that situation? What was your conversation with him like? And ultimately, what's your kind of evaluation of how everything played out?
Well, I mean, Manu's a very, very good player and a very, very good person. So that is there's always two things, right? One is the player, one is the person, and I wish him all the best. I wish him best of luck, him and his family, for wherever the future brings him. I have no doubt that with his qualities, he will be helping the team he goes to. For us, I think he had good moments. He's now here, I think, a year and a half. He was, I think, here before me the whole year, and there were moments where he showed the qualities he have, but maybe not in a consistent way. But again, I think he's a very good player and a very good person, and wish him all the best. And for me now, it's focusing on the future, not looking back.
St. Louis coming up tomorrow. That game last time, they jumped ahead. You guys clawed back. Probably felt like you should have had at least a point there. What's been the message going into this game, especially coming off the back of the Colorado match and that result?
Well, the message is that it's a home game, it's a derby. It's about attitude and energy, and that is what we want to see. You have to match the energy, you have to match the attitude, the duels first. We know what to expect. We know how they play, and so that I don't expect many surprises in that area. So then it's about can we go in there and in the right moments go after them, and in the right moments also be good with the ball, be better with the ball than we were in Colorado, that's for sure. But be defensively as stable and as good as we were in the last 2 games, which I feel like, or in a lot of the last games, which I feel like we were actually making steps forward.
Hey, Coach. Last couple games, you've lost players to red cards. Was some of that just trying too hard, maybe trying to get that result or was it just silly mistakes?
No, I don't. I mean, I don't think so. I think red cards are always probably a situation of not right decisions. You're either late or you're standing wrong, or that depends on on how the yellow or red cards are given, right? With Lasse, it was he was 2 times late. Of course, the 1 minute before halftime, you got to be smarter to go into halftime, if not the second yellow. Quaker was a tackle where he instantly thought it's the right thing to go down. Obviously, it's wrong. He knows that now, but I don't think it has to do with trying too hard. We didn't really have those problems before. It just doesn't help, right? It just doesn't help when you're then playing 2 times for more than a halftime or a halftime with a man down. And in both games, we were actually in games. We were in the game. We were 0-0. We believe that in both games we would have chances to get something out of there, and then with one man it becomes very difficult. But again, my feeling was that in Colorado the team did really, really well with one man down and stayed in the game for a very long time. But that's not obviously what we want in the future.
In that game, Orr left. Was that cramping or was that an injury, or can you just tell us what his status is?
It wasn't cramping. It was a problem on the back. So we will see how he is today's training.